Liv Morgan compliments a shocking WWE name while she's on break. While she was away from WWE, Liv Morgan hailed a shocking name. The former champion hurt her shoulder during her singles bout against Kairi Sane on the June 16th episode of Raw. There are rumors that she won't be able to compete again until next year. Before tonight's episode of WWE SmackDown, the Judgment Day star posted something fascinating on X that might have been about Stephanie McMahon's vacation photos from Greece. "Steph has always been a babe," Morgan wrote. Stephanie Vacker is another person she might have been talking about. She beat Liv Morgan and Ivy Nile in a triple threat match on Raw on June 2nd to get into the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. Dirty Dom, the Intercontinental Champion, is in a story-based relationship with a popular star. He will be in action at AAA Triple Mania 33 tomorrow night in Mexico. El Hijo del Vikingo will put the AAA Mega Championship on the line against Mysterio, El Grande Americano, and Dragon Lee at the event this weekend. Vince Russo, a former WWE writer, reportedly said that the organization should give Liv Morgan a new job on TV while she is hurt. On the Writing with Russo show on Sportskeeda Wrestling, the legend said that Morgan could become the commissioner of the women's division while she was out of action. He also said that the 31-year-old needed to be on TV instead of disappearing for months. Russo also said that Morgan's new job could give her more power than Nick Aldis and Adam Pearce. "Bro, I swear, if I were her, I would bring her back and make it so that she's either got something over Pearce's head or Aldis' head, and now all of a sudden she's like commissioner of the women's division or something. She needs to have a role on TV, bro. They can't sit her home for 4 months," Russo said. When Liv Morgan is ready to get back in the ring, it will be interesting to see what WWE has in store for her. But big news about Liv Morgan in WWE. A possible return date has been set. Liv Morgan hasn't been able to play since June, when she hurt her shoulder in a match against Kairi Sane. The former women's tag team champion had to have surgery after it. Mike Johnson of PW Insider wrote recently that Morgan was supposed to be at WWE Raw this past week to get her shoulder checked out after being off for 2 months. It was also said that if everything went well with Liv Morgan, she would come back in early 2026. This suggests that WWE might want to bring Morgan back for the Royal Rumble in Saudi Arabia. She had to give up her women's tag team championship to Roxanne Perez. At Evolution and SummerSlam, Perez helped Raquel Rodriguez defend the belts. At the biggest party of the summer, the Judgment Day members fell to Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss. Because Liv Morgan's injury was so surprising, the Judgment Day had to put Roxanne Perez in charge of taking her title. At first, it seemed like Finn Balor might have been trying to get between Dominik Mysterio and Morgan while she was away, but in the last few months, he has been a team player. Mysterio is now a much greater brand on his own now that he has the Intercontinental title and is going to AAA Triple Mania this weekend, where he'll have a 4-way match for El Hijo del Vikingo's Mega Championship. At one point, everyone in the Judgment Day was holding gold and moving ahead on WWE Raw. It looks like they've found a way to get along without Morgan in charge. People are now wondering if she will be welcomed back with open arms in a few months, or if her friends will turn against her. But the crowd in the arena was already loud, but as the lights went out and Rhea Ripley's theme song started playing, it got even louder. The mommy of WWE strolled to the ring with a smile that made her look like a predator. Her leather jacket shone in the spotlight. Dominik Mysterio was right behind him, looking arrogant, but the audience were booing him like they always do. When Rhea got into the ring, she took the microphone and slowly walked about, looking at the crowd like a hunter looking for prey. "Liv Morgan," she said, her voice low but full of malice, "you've been running around here acting like you're untouchable since you took something that belongs to me, my Women's World Championship. But I've got news for you. Your fairy tale ends the moment you step into this ring with me." She smirked at Dominik. "And what about my boy here?" She tilted her head and looked at him. "I've made up my mind that Dirty Dom isn't enough anymore. From now on, he's the Prince of Pain, because when I'm done with Liv, Dom will be right there making sure every second she spends in WWE is pure misery." The crowd gasped and jeered. Dominik nodded with excitement, showing that he liked the new name. That's right, Mommy, he murmured into his mic. Liv Morgan's going to wish she never got in your way, and I'll make sure she remembers the night it all ended for her. Liv Morgan's music suddenly played, and the whole arena erupted in cheers. Without thinking, she ran down to the ring, slid beneath the ropes, and grabbed a microphone. You think you're going to kill me, Rhea? Liv smirked and said, Cute. You've been fascinated with me since I got that title, and the reality is, you can't bear that I'm not scared of you. You may name Dom anything you like the Prince of Pain or the Duke of Delusion. I don't care. But at the end of the day, you two are the ones who are going to have to get off this mat. There was a lot of tension in the ring. Rhea took one cautious step towards Liv, and Dominik stood between them, but Liv pushed him aside. That was enough to start the fire. Rhea hit first, then Liv hit back, and the two champions hit each other until referees and security raced in to break them up. Rhea pointed at Liv and yelled over the noise as she was pushed back. Enjoy that title while you can, Liv. Mommy is home at the Royal Rumble. Liv smiled despite the noise. Good. I had been waiting. The supporters understood it then. The conflict officially started on December 16, 2024. But the November 4th, 2024 episode of Monday Night Raw was meant to be about plans, partnerships, and the Women's Battle Royal, which had a lot of stakes. Instead, the WWE Universe saw a volcanic eruption between two of the division's brightest performers, Bianca Belair and Liv Morgan. Adam Pearce, the general manager, started the night off by saying that the victor of the Battle Royal next week would get a guaranteed chance at the Women's World Championship at Survivor Series. One by one, the rivals came out to make their case. Becky Lynch looked sure of herself, Nia Jax grinned in a threatening way, and Zoe Stark promised to prove herself. Then, to the spectators' pleasure, Liv Morgan strutted down the ramp with her trademark smile, soaking up the cheers. Bianca Belair's music started playing a few moments later, and the crowd went wild again. Bianca didn't waste any time reminding the crowd and Liv that she had been the EST of WWE long before Liv started her championship run earlier that year. Bianca remarked, I've beaten the best, and next week, I'll throw every woman in that ring over the top rope, starting with you, Liv. Liv's smile stayed bright. She instead turned her head and said in a slow, mocking voice, Bianca, you might be strong, but I can't be touched. And as for the Battle Royal, you're just another thing in my way that I'll get over. The tension was thick. The two got closer until their noses almost touched. Let them fight, the crowd yelled. Liv laughed in a cocky way, which seemed to bother him. Bianca's hand suddenly slapped Liv's face hard and loudly, which drove the crowd wild. Liv staggered back for a second, but then she raced forward and tackled Bianca to the ground. The other women in the ring tried to pull them away, but things got out of hand. Liv was pulled back by Becky Lynch, and Zoe Stark and Nia Jax held Bianca. Over the noise, the two kept yelling that they would finish this next week. Enough! Adam Pearce yelled on the microphone as security stormed in. There will be no disqualifications in next week's Battle Royal. You can tear each other apart if you want to. Later that night, Liv, who was still angry and had a red mark on her face, informed the camera. Bianca Belair just made the biggest mistake of her career. That hit. That was a warning shot. I'm throwing her out last next week, and then I'm going into Survivor Series to get what's mine. Bianca, on the other hand, was spotted braiding her hair tighter than ever, her eyes full of resolve. I don't slap to warn people, I slap to make a statement. And next week, I'm going to hurl Liv Morgan over the top rope with a big smile on my face. The stage was ready. It wasn't simply about winning the crown anymore, it was personal. But that cold November night, the arena in St. Louis was already bustling. People in the crowd could feel that something significant was about to happen. The stage at Raw was red, and the Titantron broadcast a replay of General Manager Adam Pearce's bombshell announcement from last week. War Games would be back, and the stakes would be bigger than ever. The women's division was in chaos. Bianca Belair, Becky Lynch, and Naomi were starting to work together as a strong team on one side. Liv Morgan, Nia Jax, and Zoe Stark, on the other hand, were causing trouble and promised to rule within the double cage. But there was one thing missing. Someone who could change everything. Bianca and Becky were in the ring talking to the crowd halfway through the show. Bianca took the mic and spoke with a steady but excited voice. War Games isn't for the weak. If you think the man and I can't handle business, you're in for a rude awakening. All of a sudden, the lights went out. There was only one spotlight on the stage. A scary, familiar guitar riff boomed through the arena. The crowd went wild. People hadn't seen her in months, since she had been sidelined by a bad injury and a title loss that caused a lot of controversy. Now that she was dressed in all black leather and had a new look for her entrance, she slowly walked to the ring, grinning at the trouble she was going to cause. Becky seemed careful. Bianca, defiant. Rhea raised her mic and added, but before either of them could speak, "You think War Games is your battlefield? Nah, it's my playground. I'm here to set it on fire." Out of nowhere, Liv Morgan's song started playing. Liv walked down the ramp with Nia Jax and Zoe Stark on either side of her eyes on Rhea. The tension was high. Liv had taken Rhea's title months earlier, and they hadn't seen each other since. Liv smiled. Look who decided to crawl back. But newsflash, mommy, this is my division now. That's when everything went wrong. Bianca ran toward Zoe. Becky hit Nia. Rhea and Liv met in the middle of the ring and started throwing haymakers like they had been waiting all year for this. The fight went outside. People threw chairs. Security personnel tried to separate the women, but they were thrown away like rag dolls. Adam Pearce yelled above the noise and stormed out. You guys want to play War Games? You got it. But Rhea, since you want to be a part of it so badly, you're in it too. The crowd cheered. Rhea stood on the ramp, breathing hard, and stared down Liv in the ring. Her lips twisted into a devious smirk. This was more than just War Games now. It was personal. And everyone understood that only one side would live when the cage doors closed. But the lights in the stadium went down, and the crowd at Ford Field in Detroit, which was full, became quiet. This was the scene for one of the most anticipated bouts of SummerSlam 2024. The electricity in the air was electrifying, the kind of excitement that only the biggest night of the summer could bring. The Titantron flashed, and the familiar guitar riffs played as Liv Morgan walked in. She was wearing her signature black and neon green gear, and her eyes sparkled with determination. She knew that tonight was not just another match. It was her chance to show that she was no longer an underdog. This was her chance to win the biggest prize in the women's division, the WWE Women's World Championship. Liv slapped hands with fans along the ramp, feeding off their energy as chants of "Let's go Liv" echoed throughout the arena. But then the lights went out. The sound of chains clanking filled the stadium, and then the crowd let out a guttural roar of "Mommy." The champion, Rhea Ripley, made her presence known. She wore a spiked leather jacket and the women's world title around her waist, and her mere presence commanded respect. The leader of the Judgment Day stared daggers at Liv from the top of the ramp. Every step she took down the aisle felt like a warning. This was her kingdom, and she wasn't going to let anyone take it away. The fight started when the bell rang. Liv was the first to attack. She was swift and agile, ducking under Rhea's huge swing and hitting the champion's knee with a sharp dropkick. The crowd cheered as Rhea fell a little, but Ripley quickly got back on her feet and glared at Liv with a smirk, as if to say, "Is that all you've got?" Rhea's strength quickly came into play. She caught Liv in midair after a crossbody attempt and slammed her down hard, shaking the ring. The crowd gasped as Rhea stood tall, flexing her power and taking in the boos and cheers. She picked Liv up like a ragdoll and threw her into the corner, then hit her with a series of brutal shoulder thrusts. But Liv wouldn't give up. She came back with all her strength, hitting Rhea with a series of punches, a jawbreaker, and then a springboard bulldog that sent Rhea crashing to the mat. The fans went wild. Liv was on fire. She went for the cover. 1, 2. Get out. Rhea powered out and threw Liv across the ring like she was nothing. Liv tried to keep up, but Rhea caught her in the middle of a sprint and lifted her up for the devastating riptide. The crowd knew this could be it, but Liv twisted at the last second and countered with a DDT that sent Rhea crashing to the canvas. The fans went crazy and chanted, "This is awesome. This is awesome." Both women were on the mat, out of breath and gasping for air. Slowly, they got to their feet and started hitting each other in the middle of the ring. Rhea hit Liv with a right hand, and Liv hit Rhea with a right hand. They went back and forth until Liv hit Rhea with a vicious enziguri that knocked the champion off balance. Liv climbed the top rope, and the crowd stood up as she jumped off with a breathtaking diving hurricane rana that sent Rhea crashing into the turnbuckle. Liv yelled with excitement, calling for her finisher. She hooked Rhea for Oblivion, her iconic springboard flatliner. The audience went crazy. She rushed up the ropes and spun back, but Rhea caught her in the air. Ripley pulled Liv onto her shoulders with sheer strength and hit her with a powerbomb that shook the ground and almost broke the challenger in half. Rhea covered. 1, 2. Liv kicks out. People in the stadium couldn't believe what they were seeing. Rhea hit the mat in anger, her face contorted in rage. She pulled Liv up again, ready for another riptide. This time it looked like it might end. But Liv, who was running on pure heart, broke free and rolled Rhea into a surprise tiny box pin. 1, 2. Rhea kicks out again. The fans were going crazy, and every single one of them was on their feet. Liv wouldn't die, and Rhea wouldn't give up her crown. Finally, after a lot of back and forth, Rhea made one last try at the riptide. But when she lifted Liv up, Liv slipped behind her, bounced off the ropes, and hit Oblivion right in the middle of the ring. Liv crawled over the champion and put her arm across her chest. 1, 2, 3. When the bell rang, the stadium went crazy. Fireworks went off and Liv Morgan's song played loudly over the speakers. The referee gave her the women's world title, and she fell to her knees, clutching it to her chest, overcome with emotion. The underdog had done it. Liv Morgan had killed Mommy at SummerSlam 2024 and became the new WWE Women's World Champion. The camera moved across thousands of followers singing her name, holding up signs, and crying with delight. Rhea Ripley, on the other hand, was outside, enraged and shocked, and her Judgment Day faction was nowhere to be found. She stared at Liv in astonishment, knowing that this conflict wasn't finished. But tonight was Liv Morgan's night. The night she stunned the world, beat the odds, and made history at SummerSlam. Hello, lovely viewers. Welcome to my channel. I'm Lima, and I hope you're having a great day. If you like the video, please subscribe to the channel.